Hello to my fellow curious minds. Welcome back. This is Anand here and you are watching Journey of a Curious Mind. I hope you enjoyed my last video, Testing Astrology and Astrologer. If you have not watched, please watch it before watching this video. I have divided the content of this video into 6 small topics. The first one we will be seeing is understanding my intentions. Based on the feedbacks I get, let me make few things clear in this video. I am not promoting astrology, I am simply investigating it. At least in a way that in my knowledge nobody has done it before. Do I know astrology? A simple yes or no is not possible here. I will say I am learning about it continuously. Am I an astrologer? No, I am not. Neither I am an expert in rules that helps in prediction, nor my primary interest is in giving predictions. Can I predict? Yes, I can. Have my predictions been right always? No. Can astrology as an application could help in improving the human life? No, not in my experience, at least not in our current understanding. But the goal of scientific pursuit should not be merely to make use of world around us, but it should be to understand it fundamentally, no matter what use it might have. Applications and technologies are only byproduct of that understanding. My focus is on investigating astrology with an open mind with the knowledge I acquired on science, technology and astrology. If you think people have already done scientific study on astrology to prove that it is pseudoscience, then kindly point me to that study where they have not relied on predictions and humans to judge those predictions. Also, let's not discuss on those theories and claims on how astrology is working. When determining whether it is working or not itself is a big difficulty. When I am referring to astrology, I am referring to Indian Vedic astrology. My viewpoint on astrology is different from that of traditional astrologers. To understand that, you need to follow me at least for 30 minutes. If I put a 30 minutes long video, nobody will watch it. So I am breaking it down and uploading every week. Second, we will see about episode 1 scenario 2 extended. So in our last video, we concluded that astrologer can be tested for his or her knowledge in astrology. But astrology itself cannot be tested and proved through an astrologer. For that, we saw 2 scenarios, one involving ideal astrologer and other involving average astrologer. And we had 2 tests, T1 and T2, to execute. T1 is prerequisite for T2. T1 is about correctness and consistency. T2 is about determining whether it is correlation or science. When I was thinking about it again, I figured out that there could be another variation of scenario 2 possible. I was expecting that someone will point out that after watching my video, but no one did. That's okay. In scenario 2, I have mentioned 2 categories of people, X and Y. X biased towards astrology, Y biased against astrology. Now this Y category of people, after watching my video, can come to me and ask, you conveniently assumed X and Y category to conceal the incorrect predictions of your ideal astrologer. So let's assume for this argument everyone is unbiased, meaning no category of people, that is everyone can judge the correctness of prediction without any bias. In that case, the universally accessible ideal astrologer would be able to convince all of the people in the world. But the only problem is this ideal astrologer has to live forever, because only then astrology can be tested through him generation after generation. If at any time the ideal astrologer dies, astrology cannot be tested and accepted by people who are born after his death. So again, this scenario also cannot be used to test T1, because we lose consistency from time to time based on existence of this ideal astrologer. If you see in all the scenarios we try to execute T1, we rely on astrology's ability to predict and also the individual opinions to test those predictions. So we need to find better approach to test T1 in which we don't rely on predictions itself. Before that, you can ask me, why is that ideal astrologers are so odd to exist? What else can we rely on if not on predictions? To answer that and to understand the better approach to test astrology, we need to have a basic knowledge about astrology. Before we continue on that, let's jump to the next subtopic, the thought experiment by Carl Sagan. Sometime back, I saw an interesting video in which Carl Sagan explains through a thought experiment what happens if a lower dimensional species experiences the presence of higher dimensional species. I have given the link for that video in the description. Please pause here and watch it. That is really an interesting one, explained in a very easy to understandable way. And you will not understand the rest of this video if you do not watch that video. In that video, he explains about two-dimensional species living in a flat land. Square, a two-dimensional being, makes strange observation of apple, a three-dimensional being's representation in flat land. Later, Square also experiences three dimension and then tries to explain the same experience to his friends, but only fails in his efforts to explain it, because the experience he tries to describe is not within the laws of nature of flatland. The next topic we will see is Occam's razor. Now there is a philosophy rule called Occam's razor. It says it is good to assume a simple explanation to be more right when there also exists a complex explanation for how something could have happened. Let's say a tree has fallen a night before while you are sleeping. There could be multiple explanations for it. Among them, one could be due to heavy wind and the other could be a meteor from space hit it. Here the simple explanation is the most probable explanation. Hence it is good to assume tree could have fallen due to heavy wind. Applying this rule in our flatland experiment, this Occam razor rule, Square, even though tried to give the right explanation, was turned down by his friends because it sounded complex and hence less probable to have happened. Square's friends would obviously try to come up with simple hypotheses that would explain the strange behavior. We can often see this phenomenon explained better in ghost movies. So simple explanation may not be right always, but the simplest explanation, unless proved wrong, is the best one to choose from as per probability. So the next topic is quantum mechanics. Similar to flatland thought experiment, a real life incident happened around a century back. We all know Einstein. He was never able to accept the hypothesis that explain the principles of quantum mechanics when it was put forward by a group of quantum physicists. So he came up with his own simple hypothesis within the laws of classical physics to explain the strange behavior of quantum particles. But unlike Square in flatland, our quantum physicists were able to prove Einstein hypothesis wrong through scientific experiments. I have given the link for that video in the description. Please watch it. Even the greatest mind of physics and the greatest mind of the century was not able to grasp the mystery that this universe has in store for us. Not just Einstein, none of us are able to understand the intuition of quantum mechanics even after a century, and why quantum world is different from our macro world. As long as we are human, we are never too brilliant for this universe. Science is nothing but a collective understanding and acceptance of nature of universe by all of human species. As we all have our individual limitations in understanding each other's perspective, similarly the whole of human species can have some limitations on understanding much broader or different perspectives of this universe. The next topic we will see is problem in astrology. Whenever I discussed about astrology with people around, both believers and non-believers, they identify astrology to the likes of concept of God. This is because the predictions lack consistency and detail. So applying Occam's razor here, the simplest explanation for astrology that people come up with is coincidences, randomness, statistics, or probability. Everyone is either accepting it or rejecting it, not because we understood astrology at its core, but maybe because we did not understand it very well. Our stand towards astrology is only based on our individual experiences, with predictions which relies on human efficiency to predict and evaluate. Nobody thought there could be scientific way to validate its truthfulness, which stands as the problem for coming to a collective understanding and acceptance. So we are left with no other options but to either think of it like act of God or accept the simplest explanation. In quantum mechanics, it was made sure the observations are real 100% of time through scientific experiments. The problem in it is only in identifying the theory of how it is working, which seems to be beyond our natural intuition for now. In our previous video to test astrology, we had T1 to test for correctness and consistency, which when executed will tell us whether the astrological observations are right every single time. Even though T1 helps in determining 100% correlation, such a strong correlation cannot be mistaken for causation. For that, we need better understanding of our universe to assume causation for human life with planet position. So with our current understanding of our universe, we can only execute T1, correctness and consistency of observation, and have T2 for later when the science develops enough to explain how such a strong correlation is established by T1. To understand better, quantum mechanics executed T1 successfully to establish that its observations are real. But T2, that explains how it is working, needs to wait until science develops more. I'll stop here in this episode. The next episode is going to be more important one, where we will see the basic stuff in astrology that is required to understand my hypothesis and my approach to execute T1. A big thanks to all the curious minds for watching this video. If you like my work, please like and share it with your friends. Please subscribe to my channel and click on bell icon to get notifications of my next video, and post your questions and feedback in the comment section. See you on next video. Thank you and love you all. Bye.